Until you learn the lesson, all the times that you've made this mistake, the time itself has gone to waste, right? Let me say that one more time. Until you learn the lesson and move forward, changed, every time that you've made this mistake is a waste of time in your life. You have to get rid of those wastes of time. You got to use your past time for something in the future if you want to move towards anything great. You can't just move through life and stumble all the time. There has to be a turning point, several turning points along the way. Instead of going down, you turn up. It's an upward slope. And so the ability rests with you to view these mistakes that you make either as expensive mistakes or extremely valuable lessons. Am I going to implement something new moving forward? Am I going to change my behavior in order to not have to face this mistake again, the consequences of this mistake, in order to not have to waste this time among every other time I've made this mistake, right? In my own life, I've wasted a lot of time making mistakes. And one really big one is not being on time for things, right? Not showing up, not delivering on time, having to push back expectations, setting expectations and not living up to them, right? And this is procrastination, and this is false optimism, or whatever it is. Maybe not thinking about stuff, processing it enough, being an amateur, being a little bit naive, There's a lot of things that go into it, so it's not an overnight change. It's not an overnight fix, but until I learn how to create a system where I deliver tables on time, until I learn how to create a system where I meet people on time, until I change the beliefs in my mind so that I don't show up late to a flight anymore, right? All of these things, until I learn those lessons, make those systems, change my behavior, the time itself in the past where I've made these mistakes has gone to waste. So right now I have the opportunity, because I've become aware of this, right? Through my actions, through my friends letting me know, and just everything that has caused me to come to this situation and, look at my actions and think, what am I doing wrong here? I have the opportunity to look at all of these times I've failed as an expensive mistake, or, as extremely expensive mistakes altogether. Wastes of time are extremely expensive because the time is the most valuable resource of the whole thing. Or an extremely valuable lesson. Moving forward, I can change because now I know that in the past I've done something wrong. And in the present moment, I get to choose. Over the next 3 months, we'll call it the near future, the present moment, I get to choose in all the situations where I have the ability to be early. I will take that 10 times out of 10 and try my best to, more than try my best, I will show up on time. I will deliver on time. I will set expectations and live up to them. And moving forward in my life, that will be my identity, right? It's kind of interesting when you have that shift of mind, because then you can start setting up your life to actually move towards this vision that you have. So you gotta have that vision first, always comes back to that. And then after you spend the time to create that vision, you get to start moving towards it and see, okay, what obstacles of my own behavior are in the way of me achieving this vision? And I said this a lot, but if you knew what was wrong in the past, then you wouldn't have done it. And even if you knew it was wrong and you still did it, if you knew the implications of that wrong action or the implications of the good action or whatever it is, you don't fully understand something until it really hits down to the core, and several different things all at once kind of happen after making this mistake several times for you to prompt change. We don't easily change, right? We're creatures of habit. So when you have a certain way of doing things, that's part of your nature. It's going to be very difficult to change it. So why am I bringing up all this? And I'll get into living at the 100% in just a second. I waited too long to start working on a table contract. In the past, I've challenged myself and seen, okay, how many tables can I build in the shortest amount of time possible? Back in September, I did 32 tables in 5 days. I was cranking out tables, cruising through tables. I put in, I told people it was 80 hours, maybe it was 79, but it was more like a 120-hour work week because of everything that was around it, the work itself, but then on top of that, going home and eating food and, stretching, and I would consider this sleep work as well because like I woke up exhausted, you know. But regardless, and there's actually one day where I didn't sleep at all. I stayed awake for like 40 hours straight, which was wild. But I got it done. I did 32 tables in 5 days. I was able to send them to the sander, get them sanded, delivered them. It's my biggest table contract profit-wise I think that I've ever had. And so the guy reached back out. Actually, there were 2 table contracts, right? 23 and then 16. I don't even know what it was. Okay, anyways. Maybe it's 38 tables in 5 days. I don't know. The numbers don't really matter. You get the point. So then the guy that I delivered the tables to, he reached back out. He wanted another set of tables, right? I had good prices, got them delivered on time. And he's like, all right, we've got another order from this really big client. Let's go on ahead and build 11 of them, but they're really big, right? They're not the same size as the last one. It's like, okay, this is good. Now this was my new highest profit contract, right? Same guy and similar order, but it was a lot bigger of an order because even though the volume of wood was the same, the size of the tables at the end were different. They're all longer and much wider, right? So you can't lift them or carry them by yourself as easily as you can a table that's like a size of a desk. I don't know what I was thinking. Honestly, I wasn't thinking in the moment. I wasn't planning out. I wasn't making sure that I'd be on time. And he asked, hey, 3 weeks after you put the order in, hey, when are these tables gonna be ready? Why I responded like this, I have no idea. Maybe I felt like I should have to force myself to go faster or live up to something or deliver a lot earlier than he thought I would, or I don't know what it was. But I told him, I was like, hey, it's like Friday afternoon. Hey, Tuesday I'll start delivering half the tables, and by Friday I'll get you the rest. I hadn't even started yet. I don't know why I acted like that. It was a very foolish thing for me to do because it only been 4 weeks. I could have taken 6 weeks to deliver these tables and still been well on time. And yet I told him that, and so now there's an expectation that I had to live up to. I didn't live up to it. Tuesday came by. I wasn't even done with any of them, I don't think. I was starting to work on them. And Friday came by, and I was done with 10 of them. I had to glue up one more, but they weren't sanded, so I wasn't finished. I was just like done constructing them. I drove up to Nashville from Atlanta to go drop these tables off because I thought he needed them, right? Because he told the client that had spent a lot of money with them, doing the renovations and stuff, that he would be able to start delivering the following week. So he needed me to bring them up to him. So I brought him up, and, even though it wasn't like, it's hard to describe, like it was his reputation was on the line. It wasn't an actual necessary thing. They didn't actually need them to be delivered, but like, it would have been nice to have them delivered, and now that he put his reputation on it and trusted me, then those are the stakes of delivering these tables on time. And so I drive up there with them unfinished. 4 hours up and $250 for a Home Depot van plus gas and whatever it was. Get up there at his house, and he's like, hey man, which ones are finished? And I was like, well, I just needed to bring them up because I knew that you had to get these things delivered. It was terrible. It's like the worst scenario that you could imagine. He's like, okay, we'll bring them back up when they're finished. Like that was it. He's like very pissed off, and he's like, I don't even have time for this. Just bring them up when they're finished. So I had to drive back down to Atlanta, a waste of a day when I could have spent that time working, just because I wasn't honest with him, wasn't honest with myself. I waited, procrastinated, I was late. I was naively optimistic. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't being intentional. A lot of things went wrong. I'm honestly gonna make a couple videos about this because I need to really digest all the different areas that I have to change. My behavior, the actions that I take, the systems I have in place, the habits that I have. I gotta look at what are all of those different layers that have caused me to look at the world in this way and act in that way as well. Gotta change it because I cannot continue living this way. So I've done this in the past where I've delivered tables late, changed my reputation, and Tyler even makes fun of me, my best friend, brother. He makes fun of me for, like, that's just who I am. It's like, oh, Wyatt's late again, like classic Wyatt, And every single time I correct him, I'm like, don't speak that shit over me. Pardon my French. But like, if you want me to change, don't continue speaking that over me, you know? Regardless, I reframe that in my mind every single time, but I don't ever take the time to question like the core beliefs that I have to change. So now I have to look at all this time in the past that I've made this mistake, which is a lot of times in several areas of my life. All of that time has gone to waste unless I am able to learn this lesson, implement the changes, and move forward a changed man. And so then why would you want to change, right? Because it's difficult to change and it takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't have to change, shouldn't want to change. But they're not really good reasons. Still, it's enough for your mind to grab onto them and then, do its thing where it like makes something small really big. So it makes you feel like, a small change should be like this huge thing that you probably shouldn't take on because it's way too difficult. That's the way the mind works. Why should you want to change? Because you want to live in the optimal way, right? How can I live an optimal life as close to 100% efficiency as possible? And part of that is by doing the correct things, making the right changes to act in a way that's going to propel you forward in the world faster. So yes, you could live a dishonest life to yourself and to others. Yes, you could live as a procrastination machine. You could be late to everything. But then people won't trust you after a certain point. Expectations won't be met. Your reputation will be discolored. And, eventually less and less opportunities will become available to you. You have to change your ways so that people are ecstatic to work with you for every single reason. And you are the best person to work with. The most interactions leads to the most success, right? Because if you have a brain of some sort and you do it all the time, you can learn small lessons along the way. And you don't have to make everything perfect. You're just going for speed. And then eventually you can go for speed and perfection because you have learned how to do it in the shortest amount of time possible, as best as possible, with all the different bells and whistles to make the experience a $1 million experience. And that's what I'm trying to do. Build $1 million table, quote unquote, not actually, but like a $100,000 table or $50,000 table set or whatever it is. But why should I want to change? So that I can move forward in the world and be as close to optimal as possible. So I'm going to search my behavior and try to figure out how to right this wrong, because this was bad. It was a very bad situation that I put myself into. And the time itself in the past has gone to waste. If I would have known what I did wrong in the past, then I would have been able to change my behavior moving forward. If I knew the true implications of my past actions being wrong, but I didn't know, I didn't take the time to figure out what that looked like, to figure out what I had done wrong. I kind of took the easy route and said, this is a bad thing. I need to change this. And then I kept living life, So to be the best version of myself, to live up to this vision I have, to stop making the same mistakes, to be a force for good in the world, to be the man that my wife wants to marry, to be the man that the wife I want to marry wants to marry, to be the man that my children look up to and that could lead a group of people one day, to be the man that's going to lead a company and to be a legacy company, a centennial, 100-year plus company. To be these things, I have to be the best version of myself. And that starts by recognizing all the weak links and changing them one at a time. Going back to my last video, number 85. If I knew I had done wrong in the past, I would have acted in a different way. In the past, I didn't know, but now I'm starting to fully understand the implications of my bad actions and the potential implications of my good actions. To those who have, more will be given, and to those who have not, all will be taken. So if you do not have the skills, if you do not have the determination, the vision, the whatever it is, everything will be taken from you. If you have something, you can have anything you want in this life if you have enough of that something, right? To those who have something, you already hear it. Wait, this is what it is. In order to have anything in this life, you have to start with something. Maybe that's what it is, right? So then I'm going to start by changing these actions. That way I can correct the wrong teach my brain that it's actually not that big of a mistake. It's a pretty small action to take to change these behaviors in the grand scheme of things. That way I can reframe my mind and be somewhat of a better machine in self-correcting, so that this mistake not only serves as a way to correct my procrastination in the past and use that time as a positive thing in my life so that I'm living out the optimal life, but dually to show my mind that through this experience that it can self-correct rather quickly in that. And then on top of that, it can move forward a changed person, a changed man. And hopefully that will highlight all the other weaknesses in my life as necessary actions and not too big of actions to take, not paralyzing. These are possible to carry. I've done it in the past. I've changed myself in the past. So now I'm going to seek out all of the weaknesses that I have, put myself in those circumstances that will, help those weaknesses bubble to the top. That way I can take them one at a time, self-correct, and become the best version of myself. That's all I can say without repeating myself. I'm going to do a lot of videos on this. The next one I'm going to do probably is going to be the ultimate form of correcting actions is being a shape-shifting vehicle, being able to shape-shift. If you're able to rewrite your story, if you're able to correct your mistakes, change your course, blend in to different groups, or not necessarily blend in, but shift to fit in with different groups. If you are constantly able to shift, that is the most valuable skill, because you can meet any situation like a chameleon, and or like a shape-shifting. I got to come up with a good example for that. But without rambling too much, let's end it there. Hopefully this was valuable. Correct your mistakes before they get out of hand. Why not us?